Thank you for joining us for this edition of the One Young World Together Apart series. My name is Liz Alarcon, and I'm a One Young World ambassador who represented Venezuela at the summit in Johannesburg in 2013. I'm also the founder and executive director of Pulso, a digital media startup by Latinos for Latinos in the United States. Joining us today to discuss misinformation during this pandemic is Emmy Award-winning journalist and Univision anchor Ilia Calderón. She's the first Afro-Latina to anchor a news show for a major TV network in the United States, and she became the first to moderate a presidential debate this year. Ilia has been a One Young World counselor since the One Young World 2017 summit in Bogota, where she moderated conversations on human rights and modern slavery, so we could not be more honored to have her here with us. How are you, Ilia? Welcome.
Well, considering the circumstances, working as you know, I'm a journalist. You just said it, and it's just my duty to be part of what our community is going through. So it's hard for everyone, but it's good to know that we have each other.
I can imagine that this shift during the coronavirus pandemic has been especially complicated for you. You're having to do a newscast and have a child at home as well. Is that right?
Yes, it is correct. I'm being a mom, I have a housewife, a wife, a teacher, and working, but nothing a woman cannot do. A lot of women are doing their best to cope with everything and with the kids and homeschooling and everything. So I'm just a part of that mother's community, trying to do their best for their kids and their families and their community.
That's right, and showing the example for people that are having to adjust during this time. So we're going to hear you share your own experience because, as you say, some are having that, and so many women are leading the way.
Yeah.
With that, I think we should go ahead and get started because many ambassadors shared questions with me. I want to ask you to very much cover this topic of misinformation during the pandemic, which we know very important thing that we're all keeping in mind. So I'll hop right in. The first question is from Thomas from Hong Kong. He asks, misinformation online has been an issue for many years, but now it's putting people's lives at risk. Who should be responsible for stopping the spread of inaccurate information online?
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for your question. It is very difficult to control information on the internet. People can post false information. People can exaggerate and panic during a moment of crisis. The most important thing is to make sure the information you read is coming from a trusted news source, officially government agency or an official public health agency such the World Health Organization, for example. A trusted source will attribute specific medical information and will not post opinion-based information. We should all be responsible for making sure the news we post online or on social media platform is accurate and informative. You can also find accurate information following, for example, universities dedicated to medical research, such as Johns Hopkins University here in the United States, where I live. Social media platforms should make an effort as well to somehow control wrongful information that is disseminated on their channels. So I think they have a great challenge there as well.
Definitely, and I know that with social media now, to share and forward things, that sometimes we see something with a catchy headline, Ilia, and we think that it's so alarming, we must share it and make sure our family sees it. But you're right, if it doesn't come from a source that we trust, we should hold and check it twice.
Not going too far, our mothers and grandmothers that have, you know, a Facebook account and people posting things that are wrong. I think young generation, they have a great duty. They can play an important role telling them what they can trust and guiding them through, you know, the information they can trust or do not trust.
Absolutely. It is definitely on us to be that barrier and take that moment to reflect and be responsible for our elders who we are very much wanting to take care of. I'm going to hop in now to our next question. It's from Andrea, who's in Hawaii. She asks, I have been seeing a lot of posts where people say the virus is a Western virus and that we shouldn't be taking it seriously. Where do you think that lack of trust comes from?
What's the name?
Andrea from Paraguay.
Andrea. Hola, Andrea, ¿qué tal? Thank you so much for your question. Calling it a pandemic, calling it a Western virus was something that the President of the United States used at the beginning of all this crisis. He used to call it the Chinese virus, and it only helped to raise and empower racism. And a lot of people in a lot of the Asian community, a lot of members of the Asian community felt attacked and were attacked on the streets because of that. So we should call it for its name, what it is, COVID-19, coronavirus, the virus, or the medical name. Definitely we need to, moments like this, come together as a community and try to call things by their name and address things the way they should be addressed.
Absolutely, and I think that's where we come in as well. When we're seeing messages with these phrasings that are inaccurate and that are actually helping to instigate more fear and mistrust, as very well pointing to, that's where we can step in and correct it when we see it online and make sure that we're not helping to spread that fear, right?
Yeah. The World Health Organization declared coronavirus a pandemic, and it is a pandemic. It's not the Western virus or the Chinese virus, you know. And in the past months, we have seen the COVID-19 spread worldwide, and we have heard testimonies of doctors, nurses, and experts talking about social distancing, the importance of cleaning our hands, washing our hands, and the symptoms to look out for when people start feeling sick. We have also seen, the death toll rise dramatically, and the cases of people that contracted the virus passes the 1 million people in the world. So those numbers, should tell you something about how should you address this situation. Is this something that is touching us all, in any way? It's touching our community. It's not something that is happening in other countries.
What you're mentioning about the large numbers of people who are being affected is directly related to our next question. Benjamin from Eswatini says, many people feel overwhelmed by the news right now and have chosen to stop following updates on the virus. What would you say to people who feel this way, and how can we encourage people to remain informed?
Yeah, thank you, Benjamin, for your question. Bad news can make you feel overwhelmed. They can be overwhelming, but it is important as well to stay informed and to know how to take the proper measures to stay safe and healthy, of course, and take care of you and your family. I would say there needs to be a balance between the news you read, watch on television, or maybe the news you look up online, and the activities that you like to do, that make you happy. At this time, it is important to stay informed, and it's also important to stay mentally healthy. There is also good news about people helping others, quarantine neighbors, entertaining each other from their balconies, and support groups online that are good to hear and read about. But you don't need to be glued to the news channels all day, but it's important to stay informed by watching the newscasts you trust daily, or following your favorite networks in order to stay informed.
That's great advice, and I know that I do that alternating as well. And we at Pulso even have a running page on our site where we have memes that have been so popular with the pandemic. And while we're also updating, we're sharing a playlist and things that also make people laugh during this time. It's important to make space, as you say, Ilia, for both emotions, the anxiety that we may feel, and also to be warmed by all of the wonderful things happening in communities around the world.
Yeah, and doing simple things like, a red heart to say thank you to the health, the doctors, nurses, and first responders, or, a rainbow to thank you the mail people, or Amazon, FedEx people that bring boxes to your house, or another heart just to thank the people that come and, pick up the garbage, that, they come through your, door every day. So there are so many ways just to balance what is going on. And that will make you feel, of course, better.
Absolutely. And also taking some breaks from being online, I'm sure, is also helpful during this time.
Yes.
We have one last question from the ambassador community, and this one comes from Ming Yang from the United States. Mm-hmm. Ming asks, COVID-19 has hard-hitting economic consequences and is impacting disadvantaged communities most. An example of this is the more than 6 million people in the United States, where Ilia and I are right now, who have now filed for unemployment. What do you believe the impacts of this virus will be on inequality, and are governments going far enough to address it?
Ming, unfortunately, the impact of COVID-19 will be significant in communities with low incomes. Studies find that people at the lower ends of society are about 10% more likely to have a chronic health condition. That was reported by the New York Times. I just read it recently. So analyzing these statistics suggests that the coronavirus can be very dangerous for those in low-income communities. So now is the time for politicians, doctors, and health workers in those unprivileged neighborhoods. They need to prepare and make sure there is proper testing available and treatment available, that those most vulnerable are not forgotten. This virus does not attack based on gender or race or class, but we need to make sure those in need are guaranteed proper health measures. Governments like here in the United States, and you know it, are making sure that lower income families are receiving economic help and support during this time. They are also helping small and medium-sized business owners who are trying to survive this crisis, not firing any of their employees. But as an immigrant myself, living here in the United States, I see a community that is being left behind. The undocumented immigrants, these people will be receiving no monetary help. Governments should do more to help those in need in all countries affected by the coronavirus. No one should be left behind. This, takes me to a reflection that I've been sharing with my colleagues and my friends and my family, that, is exactly during moments like these when we can't ignore those who are in pain, those who are in need. We need to become together as a community to become more kind, more generous, and more tolerant, and, evolve as a society.
That hit me so directly, Ilia, and it speaks to our need to also be advocates, those of us who are privileged to be in a stable situation, although we know that this is stabilizing for everyone, for us to speak on behalf of those that may have less access, may have less help, and to pressure our government officials if they are not acting in the best interest of everyone at this time, to make sure that everybody is receiving support.
Yeah, this is a good moment also to take a look at those community leaders that can become politicians one day, or to challenge your congressmen and congresswomen in your states to start pushing for something, to do something for the ones that are in need,
And an opportunity for many one-year-old ambassadors to step up to take those opportunities as well.
I think it's not hard just to take the lead and start doing something. Even, we can't do it in person right now, but online we can create an amazing amount of chains to help others.
Absolutely. And that leads us to ask you any final thoughts you want to share with those watching about misinformation in the pandemic, more to do us to be able to make a difference in this time.
Yeah, I think being well informed is important. Follow your leaders, follow what the authorities in your cities recommend. You have to follow, as I recommended. For example, I follow the Johns Hopkins, which is a very recognized and respected source of information. but also take the time to try to help your community, to try to spread something positive. If you want to be a leader, this is the time where you can come up with an idea to help someone else. I think this situation is changing us all over the world. It's touching everybody, every single person all over the world. And we need to come together as a community, and we need to evolve as a society to become one more tolerant, kind, generous, and just, think about us as a member of a community and not just myself.
That was such a powerful way to end this very important conversation, Ilia, on such a relevant topic. On behalf of the entire One Young World community, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone, and make sure you like, comment, and share this session. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you.